One of the most iconic games, probably in Nebraska football history, even though we lost, is watching him ragdoll Colt McCoy. That's just like, if you're ever having a bad day, just remember you could be Colt McCoy playing Ndamukong Suh.
And here's the thing. It's not just that game. The Missouri game in the rain.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that game specific.
45, 40, 35, 40. He's going to go. It's time people feel us.
Big Red Junkies.
Day by day, he gets better and better. If we die, we die.
Man, woman, and child in that. Put him in the aisle.
Bring that trophy back to Lincoln.
Welcome into another episode of the Big Red Junkies. I am BJ, this is Jed, and this is Matt. We are on to the defense. If you haven't caught it already, we are doing we are drafting the offense, defense, special teams, and coaches all-time greats, well, at least since the Devaney era forward, each position. So, welcome in. We are jumping into the defensive side of this. If you haven't caught it already, the offensive show is out. Would have come out yesterday. Let us know your thoughts. Drop your comments.
Also, there's a quick correction on the offensive one.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Me looking like a giant dumbass, letting Claude do my work for me.
It happens. AI, is a great tool, but sometimes it fucks you over. Cody Whitehair never played in Nebraska. But he's from Nebraska. So
to redeem us all, it was not shocking we didn't know who the fuck he was and why he was on a list.
Because he played at Kansas State. Who cares?
I don't necessarily track all of the mid-90s high school football players out of Nebraska if they don't go to Nebraska.
Especially from Kearney.
Yeah. Or Kearney, as some people like to call it, that aren't from Western Nebraska.
Stupid people, but yeah. So, of course, if you listen to the offensive show, you probably have 87 comments on our YouTube that are like, you're stupid, blah, blah, blah.
And we are, cool. So that's okay.
Yeah. At least he didn't say Jamal Charles again.
You just had to go there.
I did.
Or misspell Calandria.
Yeah.
Calendra.
Hey, we all make mistakes. Whatever.
I don't know if I could spell it without, help. So it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's actually spelled phonetically. Like
if you want to point out all of our mistakes on the
out.
comments, feel free. But you know what? If you know what we're talking about, just move on.
Do it. Drop the comments. Yeah. Tell us how dumbasses we are because it helps the algorithm.
And then tell Jed to shut the fuck up. It's fine.
Sure. In fact, if you're listening, if you're still here, I know it's only been 2 minutes, but sometimes people drop off early. If you're still here,
go in there,
drop
and
a comment and just say, Jed, shut the fuck up. Please do it. I want 100 comments that just says Jed, shut the fuck up.
I'll have to go comment right now.
We will like and love every single one of them.
Tell Gabriel Iglesias to shut up.
Eat a taco. We are starting off on the D line with the D tackles. Undoubtedly.
Okay, recap what we're doing.
I already did that. Yeah, we already did that. How much Jaeger's in that Runza cup there, Jed?
A lot.
It's my favorite kind of Runza.
He ran out of mixer, and so he decided to just fill the rest of the cup up with Jaeger. That's what happened.
For the most part, yeah.
It is the Runza bar night.
Don't judge me, damn it.
It's the Runza bar night. This guy would be number one on an all-time greats list at Nebraska, I think, for pretty much anybody.
For what position again? I'm sorry.
Well, it's D tackle, but I'm talking about overall all-time greats.
Yeah.
It's unquestionable, in my opinion, that Ndamukong Suh is the number one player that's ever played at Nebraska.
Correct.
He could have won a Heisman as a D tackle.
Could have. He actually should have. Maybe not Tommy Frazier, but he should have.
It's wild. No. Tom, go watch the offense. Okay. Me and Jen are going to fight because he's being a Titans homer right now.
And
apparently an undercover Ohio State fan. If you don't get it, you're not going to find it right here. You better go watch that show. It's Eddie George. Or who's kidding?
Yeah.
Who's kidding? But Ndamukong Suh,
he really held out there.
Yes, Ndamukong Suh, when you look at his overall stats, it's funny because Matt likes to reference like Frank Gore as a compiler, right? Suh played in a lot of games.
He technically compiled a lot of stats.
He compiled a lot of stats,
but
they were all good.
Well,
especially his last two seasons.
There's always like a couple of tweets every single year during the Heisman Trophy ceremony that comes out where it has the list of just Suh's numbers in his senior season. compared to like 4 other like Power 4, like Florida's, those types of schools. The entire team. Yeah. And he has better numbers than like.
Also, forget numbers. We talked about the eye test on the offense show, and if he doesn't pass the eye test, literally nobody does.
Then you're blind.
The picture of him standing and looking at Texas's entire offensive line, and you just think to yourself, he could beat all 5 of those guys in a fight right now. Like
all 5.
He's going to eat them for lunch right now.
At the same time. Yeah. One of the most iconic games probably in Nebraska football history, even though we lost, is watching him ragdoll Colt McCoy. That's just like, if you're ever having a bad day, just remember you could be Colt McCoy playing Ndamukong Suh.
And here's the thing. It's not just that game. The Missouri game in the rain.
Oh, yeah.
That game specifically. The Colorado game where he ragdolled Cody Hawkins after the interception, after the Alex Henry field goal.
Of his 55 games, like 55 of them have great plays from Ndamukong Suh.
It's insane.
Yeah.
It's insane. And when you run through just his stats, I mean, the guy played in 55 games total. Started 39 of them over his career. The guy had 24 sacks, 57 tackles for loss.
Yeah, he played in 55 games. 57 tackles for loss.
Count this. 6 blocked kicks.
Yeah.
4 interceptions.
The second most of any guy on this
as a defensive tackle, by the way.
Defensive tackle.
Yeah. The second most by any guy on this list is 2. Right? He had 15 pass breakups as a defensive tackle.
18 different people with their pants shat just from him tackling them. It's crazy.
It's absolutely wild. When you put together all of his accolades and all the awards, everything that he did, then you combine it with going number 2 overall to the Lions, having a 13-year NFL career, winning a Super Bowl, finally got the Super Bowl, even though he wasn't really himself anymore. I don't know that we could really pour much on this guy, other than I wish he would have been a slightly better representation as far as not being kind of a dirtbag for the first 5 or 6 years in the NFL.
I didn't care about that at all.
I don't really care either. I loved when he stomped on Aaron Rodgers.
He came up under Bo Pelini. Did you expect anything else?
Okay, fair point.
Come on.
Fair point.
You're playing a gladiator sport where the point is to basically
murder the other guy.
Exactly. So don't care.
So, fair.
Especially, you're talking football. If he would have played in the 80s and the things that he did, nobody would have batted an eye.
Yeah,
They would have been like, that's all you did?
Rub some dirt on it.
Yeah,
Not even close. Now, here's my question, because we got 2 D tackle spots. Is it a question who's number 2?
To me, no. But it's not the guy that you're thinking of.
Oh, because I assumed you're thinking J.C. Peter.
No, fuck no. Gee. No.
Okay, who?
Jeez.
Who?
Don't want to say what I want to say about him. To me, it's, and again, you're going to go, who? It's Jim Scow. He's
okay.
Granted, I will firmly admit he's my second favorite Nebraska player of all time.
Okay.
We'll get
I think this is the first time I've heard his name, and we've done how many? Like 400 shows.
I'm just saying. This is a guy who played defensive tackle or defensive guard. I get, back in the day it was different positions, but whatever. He was a defensive tackle in the mid 80s. At the time that he was done, he had the most tackles for loss in a game was 7 in 1985. Crick and Suh have tied that record, so he still technically holds the record. Most sack lost yards with 37 on 3 sacks in 1985 in a game. Most tackles for loss in a season, 25. He still holds that record. Suh had 24 in 09. Most sacks in a season, 15. He's tied with Trev Alberts, so he still has the record. Third most sacks for an entire career at 26. And he has the most sack yards lost at 223 in the history of Nebraska. Fifth most tackles for loss with 44, with a loss of 288 yards, which is also first in the history of Nebraska defense.
I mean, he makes a pretty strong argument.
To me, if you want to do NFL stuff, he was drafted by the Bengals. He had, I think roughly like a 7-year NFL career. But he's one of my favorite Huskers. He was when I was growing up. Turns out what I found out when I went to high school, he went to the same high school I did.
Oh, wow.
Obviously, way before I did.
He was a little hopper.
Hopper?
Did you go to Benson?
No.
Where'd you go?
Roncalli.
Oh, okay. Got it. I have no idea what their mascot is.
Very different meaning.
It's a lion. Crimson Tide. Crimson Pride. Not Tide. Jesus.
Okay. Wow, he's also an Alabama fan.
No.
Ohio State, Alabama. You're going to become
Don't get too far away from it here, because we got to give Jed credit. For the first time since we started doing this, he's not going with the tingle in his pants about what he sees on the field. He's actually going by the numbers, and this guy, by the numbers, should be on the fucking list.
I mean, he should be talked about more often than what obviously he is, because nobody talks about him. Consider like all those numbers that he had.
When he hasn't played in 40 years. Let's calm down a little.
Correct. But he had like almost all of these records, and the only guys that have broken any of them or even tied them are guys like Trev Alberts, Jared Crick, and Ndamukong Suh. So it's like,
and Crick had the benefit of playing next to Suh.
Correct. Correct.
That's the other side of that. The other guys that are on this list, because this compiled a D-line list, that are up for consideration at D tackle spot. Neil Smith,
100%. He's way up
Larry
there.
Jacobson, Danny Noonan, and Ty Robinson.
Ty Robinson is the young guy on this list, and he deserves to be towards the bottom, but he's here.
I mean,
and obviously, and again, I don't like the guy, but fan favorite, obviously Jason Peters, and even his brother is up there on the list. I just, again, we want to talk about some form of it is eye test, some form of it is stats. Jim Scow has the stats.
I don't have a strong feeling about any of these, so I'm going to go ahead and give you the Jim Scow.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
No, I'm in.
As our second one there at the D tackle spot. Now let's move outside on the D line. I think there's a plain cutaway number one.
Oh, 100%. Grant
We
Wistrom.
might not have a ball signed by him up there. He used to be in the background of our show, Grant Wistrom.
Did you say he signed your balls?
Yeah, well, just one of them.
Okay.
He didn't own the balls at the time.
Yeah, this was
Was Tabitha
this
okay
was
with
somebody
this?
else's balls. He signed somebody else's balls. Shout out Andy Elliott. If you're listening down there in KC or wherever you might be traveling the world right now, the dude was an absolute beast. He was one of my absolute favorite players from what I can remember watching in the 90s. It just absolutely wrecked shop everywhere he went. Also had an awesome NFL career, even though he played for the Rams.
Now, the number 2 guy on this is very interesting as far as defensive ends.
Where do you go with that?
I really don't know. Like, do you do DeMario Williams, Randy Gregory, Broderick Thomas? To me, Broderick Thomas is phenomenal.
I was gonna say Broderick Thomas is pretty up there.
Like,
Randy Gregory, as far as your eye test goes, he's definitely up there. He was a freak of nature.
He goes back to what you talked about, Lawrence Phillips, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Because he really only had like 1.5 really good seasons with us.
Here's another one as far as the eye test, and like he goes to the Trey Palmer aspect. DeMario Williams,
yeah,
absolute athletic freak.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where you go for this second guy.
Well, you're gonna have to point us there because I don't have a clear cut favorite on any of this stuff for this one.
If we're just going by the numbers,
I think eat Lavonte David. I mean, it's
no, that's linebacker.
Oh,
we're doing 3 linebackers, so you can save him.
I was just on.
I've been a gush over him.
I was going to say Broderick Thomas.
I moved to the wrong list. My bad.
No, you're good
for this one. He Butkus Award finalist, Lombardi finalist.
I will firmly go with Broderick Thomas.
2-time consecutive
22
All-American.
and a half sacks. Yeah, like it seems just statistically he's the guy.
I'm in.
That's what I'm going to throw up there.
The fact that you guys are going to throw out an old guy, I'm in. Like, let's do it.
Well, this is just the stats because he quit playing the year I was born. I don't remember him playing.
Nope,
Which means
totally
he quit
in on Broderick
playing
Thomas.
like 100 years before I was born. Compared to BJ here, so
yeah, it might just be a thing. I think you already let the cat out of the bag on who number 1 at linebacker is. I think
that's pretty obvious.
He's a guy that you could put on a top 3 list in the NFL, in my opinion.
So, okay, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just going with the conversation here. Very short stint at Nebraska with Lavonte. Longer career with Jarrett Ruud. Longer career with Trev Alberts. Longer career with Broderick Thomas. Those types of guys. I still would say Lavonte is number one, but I think that there is a legitimate conversation.
Okay. I'm going to need to hear it. Because isn't he still the all-time?
Well, Jarrett Ruud has the most tackles.
Yes.
Ever. Lavonte David has the most tackles in a single season.
Yeah.
Again,
that's the record I was thinking about.
I'm going with Lavonte as far as number one. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just saying I think that there is a legitimate conversation because
I agree with you that there's a conversation, but then if you just simply tack on the NFL career as even a 10% qualifier here, he's getting max points on that none of the rest of the guys get.
Because even like legitimately the whole defensive end stuff with like Grant Wistrom, you can pretty much put almost Trev Alberts as the defensive end because that's where he lined up.
Sure.
But that's not what his position was listed as. So,
yeah.
It is what it is as far as that conversation goes. But I mean, Trev Alberts is one of the best linebackers we've ever had. Jarrett Ruud, again, Broderick Thomas is up there as well. It's
young guy that I want to make sure we talk about, Luke Reimer.
Luke Reimer is very underrated. When
you're looking at his stats,
if he would have stayed for his last year, I think he would have had a better NFL career.
Yeah.
And B, I think he would have been closer to this top three at linebacker than what he is, in my opinion.
And again,
he also could be coming in as a DN.
And again, I guess I brought up DeMario Williams earlier on the defensive end part. That's more of like because that's what he lined up as, same as like the Trev Alberts. I guess technically DeMario Williams was a linebacker, so. Again, comment section, feel free, light me up. That's fine. But again, I think that there is a legitimate conversation with, I think this is a lot like the wide receiver conversation that we had with the offense.
That's fair.
There's probably a clear number one, and then there's a good conversation as to who is 2, 3, and 4.
Luckily, we have 3 spots.
Yeah, so I feel like it's pretty clear cut that it's those top 3, Lavonte, Trev, and Jarrett Ruud.
Probably.
You can't leave Ruud off the list when he's the career tackles
Correct.
leader. You can't leave him off the list. But you also then have the sack record of Trev Alberts.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And
tied for sack record.
Regardless
Jim Scow,
of modern bias against him as an AD, I feel like we're doing a disservice to our list if we leave him off here from a player perspective. Yeah.
Also, I was going to use the back-to-back 100+ tackle seasons for Luke Reimer to make a small argument. And then I looked at Jarrett Ruud, who had 149 in 2003 and 143 in 2004.
Yeah.
Not quite the same.
Yeah.
Really fucking good.
Well, no, I mean, like Luke Reimer's last year, we had to question, is he going to, because he had a path to overtake Jarrett Ruud.
Yeah, and then he went.
Or no, I think it was to overtake second place, but anyway.
Some guys to at least mention on here, Jerry Murtaugh.
Ed Stewart,
I
think is
late 60s guy. Ed Stewart.
Carlos Polk is another guy.
Carlos Polk. Mark Munford.
Yes.
Munford's on here. Nice.
Yeah. This is a good list.
Yeah.
We've had a good set of linebackers come to
100%.
That's for damn sure. That is for damn sure. And when you think about some of the defenses that we've had, especially of the 90s and the later 2000s, there's a reason that some of that's there. The DBs, I think, is a little bit different of a conversation.
Nope, there's one guy and then everybody else.
Okay.
My favorite player.
Lay it on us.
You know.
Lay it on us.
This is the one guy you do know.
Lay it on us.
Mike Brown. Mike Brown.
Who?
I mean, he's my favorite player. And legitimately, he's one of the best defensive players we've ever had. Forget position-wise, but specifically defensive backs. Most tackles by a defensive back in a game with 19. Tied for 7th best game in Nebraska history. Most tackles in a season by a defensive back with 102. Most tackles in a career by a defensive back, 287. 3rd all-time tackles as far as career goes. 9th most unassisted tackles in his career, 137. Like, he's the dude.
I'm with you. I'll give you that. We've got 4 DB spots because we're not splitting up safeties and corners. Yeah. My question is, where do we go after that? Because when you read down the list, the way it runs out for us is Prince Amukamara,
I think he's probably going to be on the list.
Ralph
for sure.
Brown.
Yep.
Brett Clark.
I think the conversation is the fourth guy. I think you just said the other two should be Prince Amukamara. He had a conference defensive player of the year. I think it was like a top 15 draft pick by the Giants.
He was a unanimous All-American in 2010.
Yeah. Ralph Brown started every game in his 4-year career. He has the most pass breakups in the history of the program. RIP, by the way. But I think Ralph Brown should be there as far as one of our 4 defensive backs. The fourth guy,
Minter?
that's a great conversation.
Is it Minter?
I would say it's probably Minter, but Josh Bullocks has a great conversation in there. Fabian Washington, Cam Taylor-Britt had a really good back end of his career. I think he's not on our list that we are looking at right here, but Cam Taylor-Britt is up there.
He also didn't really come on, though, until his last year here.
Correct. That's why I said back end of his career. That's why I said that. I think Keo Craver and DeJuan Gross are up there, but I would almost say that they are helped by their special teams abilities.
Yeah.
Specifically DeJuan Gross.
Punt returns,
yes. Baron Miles was phenomenal. Zach Bowman, he had a good run with the Bears for a while in the NFL.
The school record for interceptions, Dana Stevenson, 67 through 69.
Yeah.
14. But he played in, what is it? No, he played in less games than Bullocks, so. Because Bullocks is tied for second at 13.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy to think they've only got 13 and 14, and that leads for INTs for us.
I would probably go with Mike Minter.
That's where I'm leaning.
But there are guys that are like, Alfonso Denard. He's up there, at least in the conversation.
Those were some Bo Pelini products.
Mm-hmm.
That's,
hell, you talk about other Eric Haig, guys like that had a good cup of coffee in the NFL.
Mike Minter kind of just has the most rounded out.
Yeah. Michael Booker is another guy that, is in the conversation. But
again, you go back to tiebreakers. Championships is a big it's a big thing, and he's got a couple of them. So
I can go with Mike Minter.
And he started in a Super Bowl. So, he's out there.
Yeah.
My question is, do we think that there's a chance with what he showed last year that Andrew Marshall pushes enough to get in consideration for a list like this?
There's always a chance.
Okay.
Is he in the? I would put him in the close to the conversation behind Mike Minter. As the Cam Taylor-Britt.
I'm talking about if he has another killer season this year. If he rises even further than what he did at the end of the year last year,
it would take a lot to overtake Mike Minter.
Sure.
Could he be in the conversation with
if he has
Keo
a phenomenal
Craver?
single season, he could do that on his own. So,
the wild thing is the 5 for 5 goes through and we get him for 2 more years. And that might then be pushing a real conversation.
But could he? Is he in the conversation with the DeJuan Grosses, the Keo Cravers, Cam Taylor-Britts, Denards, Josh Bullocks, guys like that? Yeah. It'd take a lot for him to jump over Mike Minter for me.
On the defensive list total, is there anybody on our defense right now that you're like, I could see it?
That's on our defense today?
Yeah.
No.
Andrew Marshall probably is the closest.
Yeah, no, there's nobody
Think
else.
so?
Yeah.
Especially if you're talking about like needing to compile some stats for the career, there's nobody right now that I can think of that would be even remotely in this conversation.
No, I
Not
can't
to
think
say
of
it
anybody.
couldn't happen.
No, I mean
you could have a guy pop out for a monster. Like if you look at if I'm looking at any of them with the ceiling, Williams Winery, if he winds up actually turning into a top 3 player in his class and has a monster season this year and stays, he has 2 more. We have him for 2 more years, regardless, unless he transfers. If he has 2 monster seasons, we could be going back to that edge conversation.
I think if he has 1 monster season this year, he's already gone to the NFL. But
I guess he can leave after this year.
Yeah.
Can't he? Yeah, that's right.
But here's the thing: like even with a guy like that, yes, would he have been here longer? if he has a monster season this year, I would put him in the Trey Palmer category of one good season. I understand that he's here more than one season, but I wouldn't say the seasons that he's already been here are like,
especially for his position.
Talk about.
You can make a stronger case to stay an extra year if you're getting paid a decent amount. You're not going to negate your draft stock all that much unless you have an abysmal season, which you don't expect to if you think you're going to the NFL.
If he breaks out and is a defensive end, he's going to make money
he's going to make money in the NFL regardless.
He'll make more in the NFL than he will.
Especially with his size.
It just depends. Like
if he's a top 3-round pick, yes. If he's a top 3-round pick, yes. Especially at the DN spot.
Yeah, I'm talking about because of the position.
That's what we got, guys. If you think we fucked up on this list, or we missed somebody, left somebody off massively, or you think we mispronounced a name, please let us know. And don't forget to tell Jed to fuck himself in the comments.
And this may be the most unbelievable night in Cornhusker football history.